tonight. Bucks just a win away from being crowned champs. But why doesn't Giannis get the respect that he deserves? The Green Bay Packers report in a week. Will the MVP be there when they do? And Jameis Winston, the work, the fun, the oddities, all of it. It never, ever stops. Good Tuesday morning, everyone.
What's going on now?
Welcome to First Things First, along with Nick and Brandon and Kevin Wilds. I'm Jenna Wolfe. Brandon, is there any reasonable football thing that's happening here with Jameis Winston? Is there something I should know that I don't know? Is it run for your life and be a better quarterback?
Jenna, I don't know. JW been following this guy all off season. He knows better than I do. Kevin, come on, help me out here.
I'll be there. Stay tuned. I'm all over it.
Did I say JW or did I say KW?
You did.
No, you wanted my mom.
JW, but that's
JW.
It works.
But you
See,
can
that's
also
Jenna
see
putting that in my
knowledge in
head,
me
talking
all
about
the time.
JW.
I know. We got a JW and a KW. We got to start with tonight's Game 6. My bad, Brandon. I'll take that one. Hey, the finals ship back to Milwaukee tonight. And for the Bucks, their big advantage in this one, momentum after 3 big wins over Phoenix. And now, here we are. Chance to close out their first title in 50 years on their home court. The Phoenix Suns have something to say about that, though. Chris Paul did the same yesterday with a little perspective headed into Game 6. Take a listen to this.
Mid-level.
It's definitely exciting. Something that coach and everybody been saying, if you went to the beginning of the season and said we had a chance to be where we are right now, would you take it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we get a chance to determine the outcome. You know, it's not like the game is going to be simulated or somebody else got to play. You know, we get a chance. We control our own destiny.
As a team, we got to be disciplined. We can worry about that. We cannot have any plans about none of celebrating, none of that until it's done. You know, and that's the mindset I'm going to have until tomorrow.
Oh, you better get high.
Tonight's game, not a simulation, by the way. Just learned that. Hey, Bucks are only the fourth team in NBA Finals history to go up 3-2 after being down 0-2. And again, they can close it out tonight at home. But Nick, exactly. Nick, will the Suns, though, force a Game 7 this evening?
No, unfortunately for basketball fans, we will not be getting a Game 7. Best thing in sports, an NBA Finals Game 7. We will be deprived of it once again this season. And here's the thing. While Brandon might not know it, Chris Paul does. I think Chris Paul's comments there were very interesting. It's like, well, at the beginning of the season, we'd have loved to be in this position. That's like, if you'd have told Brandon Marshall the day he walked onto UCF's campus, one day you're going to go to your bank and they're going to say you have $1 million in there, he'd say, oh my God, how amazing. But if Brandon Marshall went to his bank this morning and had $1 million in there, he'd cry and pass out. Say, what happened? So the Suns, at the beginning of the season, up to a down 3-2 in the finals sounds great. But a week ago, up 2-0 in the finals, down 3-2 sounds literally the worst case scenario. And here's the problem for your adopted Phoenix Suns, Brandon. You look at the numbers,
give it
and you're like, wait, why aren't they ahead in the series? They are, as a team, almost shooting 50, 40, 90. They're 50, 40, 86. Booker's averaging 30. Chris Paul's averaging 21 and 11. Ayton's averaging 15 and 13. Okay, did we have any huge injuries? Well, we lost Saric, but that's not that big of a deal. So why aren't we in a better position? And it's because the Suns' defense has abandoned them entirely. Zach Lowe pointed it out yesterday, and I want to reiterate it here. The Bucks' offensive rating in this series is 119. That would have been the best in the entire NBA, even better than the Brooklyn Nets over the course of the season. The Suns cannot get stops. The Suns cannot rebound the ball. And because of that, Brandon, the Suns cannot win this series.
Of course they can't. Blasphemy to talk about the Suns and can they force a Game 7. Why? Everything you said, the reason why is because you have 3 aberration games. You have Mr. Inconsistent, who I love, but we've been talking about it all year. Mr. Inconsistent right here, Chris Middleton, who now all of a sudden he wants to be Mr. Consistent in the finals. And then you have Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, we're saying, wow, he's a bust. This was a bad pickup just a couple series ago. And now this dude last game goes 27 points and 13 assists. Yes, we were talking about a little bit, talking about, oh man, Drew Holiday, is he going to step up? Is he going to add anything on the offensive end?
That's right.
Yeah, listen, I'm fudging it a little bit. Yeah, that's fine, but it's 3 aberration games. You go back to Game 3, and what happened? You had the big 3, the trio, the Bucks trio, go out there and play the most efficient game they've ever played in the postseason. They were, 47% or better? And then you go to game 4, and all of a sudden you got the foul situation, and then you have CP3, point guard, dribbling the ball off his legs. And then you go back to the last game, and what did we see? We saw it again. The big 3 go lights out. We're not getting that again, Wilds. I'm sorry. So those were 3 aberration games in a row. That's not going to happen again. Nick just said it. The Suns were top 10 defense and offense all year. They are the better team. They just need to buckle down, and like CP3 said, we're in a good situation. Nobody thought we would be here. Nobody. That's it. They just need a little positive self-talk and reinforcement. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to the Suns or you're talking to yourself there, buddy? Because I don't know if the Suns are awake right now. That seems more to
I can't go another sleepless night.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Okay, so you know how they teams somehow bring in celebrity guests before the game? Like you bring in The Rock, and The Rock talks about intensity. Or you bring in Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg talks about determination. Or you bring in Brandon Marshall, he talks about, like, hey, maybe you lower the hoop down to 9'8", like we do at House of Athlete. Like, that seems to work for me. So here's what the Suns should do. Bring in Daryl Morey. You got to pay him $20,000 to get him there. He comes, he flies in. He's like, all right, let's hear the big speech. And Daryl Morey can get in front of the Suns and say, hey, guys, shoot more threes. See you later. Shoot. That's it. That's all you got to do. The Suns are 9-2 when they shoot more than 30 threes. Game 1, they shot 34 threes. Guess what? They won. Game 2, they shot 43. Guess what? They won. Games 3, 4, and 5, they stopped shooting threes, even though they were shooting them really well. So Chris Paul was asked about it in yesterday's press conference. Take a listen, and here's what he said.
I think we just got to figure out a way to generate more threes. If that's penetrating, it doesn't just have to be me and Devin. That's the way we done played all season long, is penetrating the gaps, finding Kale, Cam, Jay, all the different guys on our team for threes. And obviously, when you lose a game and you look at it, you analyze, you're like, oh, they should have shot more threes. You know, it's a lot of what they call them Monday morning quarterbacks. But we've had to play a way that we played all season long, and we're going to try to play that way Game 6.
So, Nick, no Wednesday morning quarterback from your old buddy KW. I think that is the answer. Shoot more threes. Are you buying that the Suns could force a Game 7, which you secretly want as a fan, even though you rooted for the Bucks and picked the Bucks? Don't you think the Suns can just start bombing threes and sort of change the course of this series?
Well, I think 2 things. One is Kevin Wildes has officially spent too much time around Jenna Wolfe because he now also doesn't know what day it is. Today is Tuesday. Otherwise, that was great analysis. Second of all, Wednesday morning quarterback
after the game tonight.
After the game.
That's not what he meant. He didn't know what day it was.
I'm not getting thrown under the bus for just sitting here and smiling, Nick. Not happening again. I did nothing this morning. I sat here and smiled.
It's been at least 2 weeks since Jennifer got the day, so it's, you know what, it was unfair of me on both accounts. But
also not
to answer the basketball point of this, are the Suns not shooting threes because they don't like them anymore, or are they not shooting threes because the Bucks defense has been designed in this series to stop them from shooting threes? It's the latter, not the former. The reason they're not getting threes is they are generating almost no open corner threes, the best three you can get, and because the Bucks are okay with giving up the mid-range. And one of the advantages to being as long as Milwaukee is the guys who are guarding Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson or Jay Crowder out on the perimeter. If Devin Booker beats Pat Connaughton, those guys can help off kind of just with a half step and a long arm and then still recover out to the three-point line. And so it's not happenstance that the Suns are shooting a great percentage from three. Why aren't they shooting more? Because that is what the Bucks are taking away. And so I don't think that they're all of a sudden going to change, the Bucks that is, what they're doing defensively. They're going to say, Devin Booker and Chris Paul, if you're going to crush us in the mid-range, go ahead, but we're going to play the math on this, Brandon.
Nick, you know what they need? Just a little bit of defense. Little bit of defense. Now it's time to lean into the defense. Okay, embrace the D. That's it.
I think that's right. Jenna, it's the final basketball game of the season, and defense matters. The final game of the year, and on your family day, defense matters.
I was giving you the layup. You took a minute to catch it. Gosh.
Meanwhile, Daryl Morey's like, wait, you guys don't need me? I'm just so unclear, so I'm not coming in tonight after what Nick just said.
And Jenna,
we're going to stay in Wisconsin.
Not the last game.
Talk some Aaron Rodgers. Will he be in Green Bay next week when Packers camp convenes? It is Tuesday. I'm JW. He's KW. Nick's got takes. We'll discuss all of it next. First things first.
Brandon's the only non-W.
Are we all in on Aaron Rodgers? We are 1 week away from the Packers veterans reporting to camp. That we know. What we don't know, if the MVP will be there. Hey, Brandon, the Rodgers situation should have the Packers feeling blank a week before camp.
Woo, 70%. 70% good. Look, there's nowhere to go. I mean, it's the end. Where's he going to go right now? Who's going to trade for him now? What do they have? Do they have anything to give up? No, it's too late, so they know they have him for now. But there's still a 30% chance that the unthinkable happens. What's the unthinkable? Hey, I'm Aaron Rodgers. I want to hold a press conference tomorrow. I just want to let you guys know that, my 16-year run was amazing. It was phenomenal. Thank you guys so much. And here in Appleton, Wisconsin, you guys were so good to me and my family. But I think I'm go ahead and retire and go back to Hawaii. And I picked up some great skills there playing the guitar. The unthinkable could potentially happen. That's a 30% chance. But right now, they should feel good because there's nowhere else to go. And you saw him on the golf course, and he was throwing the ball, tossing around with Tom Brady. This dude still wants to play. But until he comes in and he checks in and he throws his first touchdown, the unthinkable can happen, Nick. The unthinkable.
So here's the thing, Brandon. I think Rodgers is going to play this year. And I think he's going to play for the Packers. And at this point, if I'm a Packers fan, I'm honestly just feeling a little annoyed. Even if I am a fan of Rodgers, even if I support Rodgers, I'm like, all right, man, you played your hand. You played it kind of weakly. You checked the river, and then you're like, just king high, and instead of going all in. And so, because of that, at this point, I'm like, you know what, buddy? Like, enough with the cagey, rhetoric. What am I going to do? Who knows? Like, there were moves Rodgers could make. Brandon, you mentioned retirement. The move he previously had available to him, it would have been, borderline. But he could have opted out of the year with the COVID protocols. And you can then opt back in.
I thought you were going to say
Jeopardy. He could have opted out, but he could have said, hey, because of this, I'm opting out, and that could have potentially forced the Packers' hand. Instead, he just does these, the passive-aggressive interviews. I think everyone knows he's coming back this year, so I'm a Packers fan, Wilds. I'm just a little annoyed that this is still unresolved.
Okay, I'm annoyed as well, but I think I have a solution for it. Because you know the things that I hate in this world? The art of pantomime and half measures. And this has largely been a half measure. So, you know what happened yesterday in WWE? Oh, Goldberg came back and John Cena came back. God bless you, Nick. It's okay. When I give good takes, he gets nervous and his allergies start acting up. Packers Saints, September 12th, 4:25. Where's Aaron Rodgers? He still hasn't showed up. Boom! It's like a WWE entrance. But here he is, Aaron Rodgers, first play of the game, first offensive series. Packers already been on the field for defense. So play it out to the very, very end. Let it be a great, real drama for Aaron Rodgers.
You may get Wally Pipp, though. And what if Love go in there and he balls out?
Oh, maybe.
What if Wally?
That's why you got to come in first possession.
He might get Wally Pipp.
First possession.
No.
Aaron Rodgers.
That's a take. That's a good take. Save that for post basketball. That's a great take. It's a baseball take.
All right. Wilds, I'm going to send it back to you. We got some weird and wonderful from our national pastime. How about this? Marlins, Nationals, bottom 5. Starting pitcher John Lester at the plate. Not at the plate anymore. 419-foot blast. 4th career home run. Guy also tossed 7 scoreless innings on 81 pitches yesterday. What a night for him. Nationals win. You ready for the score? Nice. The final was 18-1. Pretty wonderful stuff. But Wilds, what else you got for us?
All right, we'll start with the weird White Sox Twins. Tim Anderson tries to put the tag on Celestino, who slides back to third alongside the umpire.
Ouch.
Still makes the call for himself and the runner, both safe. Celestino ends up scoring. Twins win and advance in the standings. Now only 17 behind the White Sox.
Agility drills?
Time for a wonderful play and story. Sacramento River Cats' Drew Robinson, great catch in right field, making this more special. This is Drew's second to last game as a player. He recently announced his retirement, but he's still going to the majors. Robinson is joining the Giants front office as a mental health advocate. So congrats to Drew. Great play to cap off a great playing career. Best of luck in San Francisco. It's a great story.
True.
And finally, the weird Mets-Reds, bottom of the second, ground ball to Guillorme, who misplays it, tries to bat it over like that spike ball game that people give your kids. Like, this will be fun. You end up throwing it away. Guillorme makes 3 errors in the game, 2 there. But hey, maybe they lighten the mood because Mets still won 15-11. That's your weird and wonderful from the National Pastime.
Why the drive-by on spike ball? Great Shark Tank for us.
Stop giving it to my kids as a birthday present.
He's right.
It's terrible. It's a terrible game.
I agree. It's so hard to play. It's not a great game. Back talking Finals MVP, Giannis seems to be a front
Greek,
runner.
not tonight.
But hey, hold on. Could Chris Middleton, not CP3, could Chris Middleton actually steal the award away from the Greek Freak? We're going to toss that around. First things first on a Tuesday morning. Back after this. Back here talking the NBA Finals. Bucks Suns. Bucks are just 48 basketball minutes away from throwing a party 50 years in the making. Chris Middleton deserves a ton of credit for bouncing back from a slow start to the series. He's proven he's a star. Some would go so far as to say he's a superstar who should get Finals MVP votes. And this, of course, has our guy Nick apoplectic. Nick, what do you make of the narrative that Middleton could steal the MVP away from Giannis?
Take a deep breath, Nick.
I mean, it's idiotic. I was trying to look for a diplomatic word, but there isn't one. If Giannis played tonight and 1 minute into the game got ejected with 0.0 rebounds, 0 assists, and Middleton went on to score 40 and the Bucks win, Giannis should and would still be the unanimous Finals MVP based on what he's done through 5 games. He leads everybody on both teams in points. He's 1 rebound shy, 1 rebound, not per game, 1 total rebound shy of leading everyone on both teams in rebounds. He's 3rd in the series in blocks, in assists behind the 2-point guards. He's 1st or 2nd in blocks and steals. He's 1st in field goal percentage. He has the best defensive play. He's the best offensive play. Obviously, Giannis is the MVP of this series. Obviously. But the fact that this question exists out in the ether, in the NBA Twitter sphere and media, is to me indicative, Wilds, of a bigger problem. And the problem is the disrespect for Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is without question the most disrespected superstar in the league today and maybe across sports. Now, people are like, what about LeBron? The LeBron disrespect is like farcical. It's like, you know what? I thought Porky Pig was bad in Space Jam, therefore Jordan's better. That stuff's nonsense. I'm talking about, like, on the court, how he's looked at by his peers and by some in the media. It's lunacy. And I go back, Wilds, to that James Harden quote from a few years ago, and I'll read it to you in full. I wish I could be 7 feet, run, and just dunk. That takes no skill at all. I got to actually learn how to play basketball and how to have skill. I'll take that any day. Folks talk about Giannis like he's Paul Bunyan and the rest of the NBA are the characters from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the workers. Giannis, there are 59 players in the league as tall or taller than Giannis. There are 57 players in the league that weigh as much or weigh more than Giannis. DeAndre Ayton is 6'11", 250. Giannis is 6'11", 246. So why can't Ayton do what Giannis does? Why can't he? Why can't every big guy in the league do what Giannis does? Because Giannis is special. And it has been jarring to me, Wilds, that throughout this postseason, we have seen when Dame is going off in round one, forget NBA Twitter, NBA players watching the game chime in on it. When Clay goes off, when Steph goes off, when LeBron goes off, when you have these explosions, especially if it's a standalone national TV game or a playoff game or much less a finals game, you see guys across the league comment on it. It's been crickets on social media by his colleagues for Giannis. So I think he's disrespected by his colleagues. I think he's disrespected by the media. And I think some of the narrative surrounding him is insane to me. Totally insane.
So I'll throw it to Brandon, but we can circle back around to you, Nick. Brandon, do you think that some of the Giannis, we'll say the lack of flowers since everyone's getting, that some of the criticism around Giannis is because there are a handful of incompletes on his superstar report card? It's like 3-point shooting, incomplete. Free throw shooting, incomplete. End of game sort of clutchness, kind of like you're the man, incomplete.
Right.
And I know the positive side of that, the optimistic way to look at it is like, well, you know, he's not afraid. He has suppressed his ego, and he's got a great mindset, and he's willing to let Middleton hit the shot. Like, okay, but narrative-wise, kind of like, you know, in the gauntlet, you like to see the superstar grab the sword and kind of slay the beast. So I feel like between the threes, the lack of end game, and the free throws, which are not just bad, but are embarrassing, not to him, but it's just odd to airball free throws. Do you think that those three incompletes are why people sort of take shots at him or are unwilling to sort of give him the crown?
Right. No, Wilds, I think a lot of guys have holes in their games. There's no one in the league that's perfect. There's always something you can get better at. I truly believe, and I said this before when we had this discussion a couple weeks ago, Nick, where the game has changed, right? Like, this is old school basketball in a way where you play defense and you're getting it done in the paint. You know, nowadays, like, guys are you talk about, okay, why aren't they tweeting at this guy? Why aren't they, when he goes off and he has a big night, why aren't they talking about that and highlighting that on the broadcast? Well, it's because what we're used to is Dame shooting from half court, Steph Curry going slap off and hitting 10 threes, LeBron James getting it done in so many different ways. It's about how he's getting it done. That's where the lack of respect comes in at. But this whole conversation around, is he the most disrespected person in the NBA? No. I mean, everyone knows that he has a huge hole. He has two huge holes in his game. He can't shoot, and he's, you know, terrible from the free throw line. And that's okay. He is a monster. He is a beast, 2-time MVP. But at the end of the day, there's nobody more disrespected in the NBA than LeBron James. There's nothing he can do to make people happy. Like, yeah, he has his fan base. He has people that cheers him on. But at the end of the day, it seems like he always has to prove himself. I mean, it took him, half his career to finally realize, like, you know, I'm never going to make people happy. I just need to be myself and be unapologetic about it. LeBron James, to me, is the most disrespected person, not only in the NBA, but in all of sports. It's insane what this dude has done and still not getting the proper flowers.
Okay, so to a degree, I understand that and I agree with that. I just feel like the LeBron stuff has almost ascended sports. People are like, hey, did you know LeBron's sneakers are made in China? It's like, yeah, so are literally all of ours. Like, what are you talking about? They're like, hey, I thought I thought you saw it this weekend when people are like, guys, Space Jam, not a cinematic masterpiece. It's like, dude, it's a cartoon kids movie. Calm down. And so I'm talking about more on the court stuff with Giannis. And I think the fact that he hasn't gotten this monkey off his back, go ahead, Wilds. Go ahead, before I go about this postseason. Go ahead, Wilds.
Okay, so you talked about it yesterday, which I think is interesting. The idea that legacies are paper thin, right? Like if the ball bounces a little bit differently for Kawhi, or if Embiid gets a fingertip on it, then that's viewed, Kawhi's career is like, he was disgruntled and he couldn't get it done in Toronto. But instead, it's like, wow, he's got 2 finals MVPs. What we saw to sort of like, and you did it with Devin Booker. If Devin Booker hits that, all of a sudden this is Devin Booker's ascension, and Giannis is viewed as like, wow, you missed those free throws. If you nailed those, you could have put the game away. So it feels like the margins of this are so tight that if it was to go another way, if we get tonight and he misses some free throws, people are like, I told you. Like the guy needs to work on his game. These holes are too big.
But so let's talk about the margins, because you control what you can control. The Bucks are down 2-0 to Brooklyn. Kyrie is healthy at this point in time. And Giannis, in games 3 and 4, stares Durant in the eyes and outplays him in those games. Game 5, Durant has the game of his life. Game 6, Giannis is better. And Game 7, I would say Giannis and Durant play to a push. But who hits the shot in overtime on the other guy? The critical basket. Giannis on Durant with a minute left. So that's that series. The next series, Giannis suffers what appears to be a brutal injury. Comes back within a week. Has back-to-back 40-point finals games. In one of those games, the second 40-point finals game, game 4. Then in the next game, how thin are the margins? Well, it's a 2-point game with a minute left. Why didn't the Suns tie it? Because Giannis blocked the shot. The next game, after Booker turns the ball over, why was it not a 1-point game after that? Because Giannis completed the alley-oop. And this idea, Brandon, that he should be graded on a curve because of his physical gifts. What's so puzzling to me about that is, do people not know that? Guess who usually wins in the NBA? The biggest, most athletic people. Like, the 60s were dominated by the 2 most athletic guys,
Small
Wilt
ball
and
doesn't
Russell.
work.
Kareem,
Small ball is done.
No, it's not that it doesn't work, but so many of the great, go through history. Kareem was 7'2" and had an unblockable shot. Did people say that was unskilled?
But Nick, that's why I'm saying, man. It's like watching football. It's like let's watch Sunday Night Football or watch all the games on Sunday. The team that ground and pound, plays great defense and runs the ball 50 times a game, they're not the ones we want to watch. We want to watch Patrick Mahomes throw it all over the place. We want to watch Patrick Mahomes throw it in so many different angles and throw no-look passes. That's what we want to see. We want to see the wide receivers go up and catch the one-handers. That's what we want to see. And in basketball, it's the same thing. That's not the game anymore. Just, let me post up or let me get in the paint, mid-range game. That's why it's like counterculture to see these guys like Chris Paul. Chris Paul dominate the mid-range game. That's counterculture right now. Even Devin Booker and Giannis, the same thing. He gets it done in the paint. Now, is he a freak? 100%. I feel like people respect that. But the reason why we're not celebrating him is because he's not going through his legs and dribbling the air out of the basketball and shooting threes from half court. That's what guys want to see.
I know.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, though, Nick. Well, the last thing is this. It's like, do we really believe that Giannis would be in this position if the Nets were 100% healthy? Like, let's think about that.
I don't know.
I'm not calling it.
I don't care. Guess what? Staying healthy matters. Guess what? Guess what? Staying healthy matters.
It does.
And Giannis suffered a major injury
100%.
and came back in 7 days. James Harden had a hamstring strain.
Right.
It basically knocked him out for 3 months. That stuff matters. And listen, it's a matter of taste. What do you prefer? Do you prefer long-range shooting, or do you prefer above-the-rim acrobatics? Personally, I like the guys who look like they can fly soaring above people, but that's a matter of taste. But what is, to me, not deniable about what you're saying. Like, let me use a football example, because you're like, it's where with Mahomes, with the games going. Derrick Henry's a throwback player. Derrick Henry is doing things that guys haven't done in a decade. If the Titans won the Super Bowl through Derrick Henry, and the commentary is, man, not a great pass catcher. Guy, really, you put him out the slot. He's got no moves.
But
Who
here's
gives
the thing.
a damn?
But here's the thing with Derrick. I thought about that when I broke that down. But here's the thing with Derrick Henry is on those 80-yard touchdown runs, he's stiff-arming 3 or 4 people to the ground. So he's electrifying. He still brings that
Giannis's
zip to the
alley-oop
game.
wasn't electrifying?
So
Giannis's alley-oop and dunk weren't electrifying?
It was okay. It was
Those
okay.
are pretty electrifying.
We've seen that 1,000 times. We've seen that 1,000
Not
times
in the finals in that
over the history of the
situation.
NBA. Like, I want to see somebody shoot from half court, man. The logo.
Listen.
Look at this. Look. Oh, there
Forget
we go.
the
We got a
Bucks.
shot.
It's win or go home tonight for the Phoenix Suns. Do you think they can force a Game 7? We'll talk about that next. But first, Giannis talks seeing the King courtside at Game 5. Listen to what he said about that.
They had the chance to engage with him, and I wouldn't engage with him. That's something that I don't do. It doesn't really matter who might be my mother's children. Of course, I see that I don't engage while I'm playing. I just try to focus as much as possible. And but this is crazy. This is a crazy story. This is not a promo. The night before, I was watching Space Jam on HBO. Yeah, so I was watching Space Jam. And there he goes. This is the courtside sitting. But no, I wasn't able to engage with him in any way.
First things first, back here with Chris Broussard talking Chris Paul. So, Broussard, you know this. The series started out very well for the Suns. Up 2-0. Looked like they were going to go from bubble darlings to title team in a year. I don't have to refresh your memory. It's over. You remember that probably. But Giannis and the Bucks have turned these finals upside down. And for CP3, it might mean coming up short one more time in the playoffs. Not a great list to be on here. CP3's teams have had multi-game series leads 4 times in the postseason, only to watch those leads slip away. Chris Broussard, what is on the line tonight in Game 6 for Chris Paul?
There's a lot on the line. I mean, obviously, the championship, but for him personally, in terms of his individual legacy, yes, there is a lot on the line. He would become, if they lose this series, he would become the only player to lose 4 series in the postseason where you led 2-0. Okay, and a point guard is in control of the game, of his team. So a lot of that, just like it falls on the coach, it can fall on the point guard. So we've talked about some of Chris's failures in the past in the postseason. If he loses this series, those become, they're a big part of his story. And when you talk about, wow, he's one of the greatest players with Barkley and Malone and Ewing and Stockton to never win a championship, you look at it and Chris is a big part of why he didn't win the championship. Conversely, if he can come back and win this series, those playoff foibles become a footnote, okay? They go from being he's great, but to just being a small footnote in his overall story. So that is the first thing. Secondly, if he wins this series, he could become the 3rd player, only the 3rd player in the 74-year history, the 3rd small player or normal-sized point guard to lead a team to an NBA title. He would join Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry, and that is huge. I mean, of all the great small players we've had, none have led a team to a championship outside of Isaiah and Steph. So that would be huge for Chris's legacy. Then I'll give you this, and granted, there's no official list. But I do agree with Nick that win or lose this series, Chris Paul's the 5th greatest point guard ever behind Magic, Steph, Oscar, and Isaiah. Ooh. If he wins this series, I think many in the media will agree with Nick. It won't be consensus. There's always debate. But many people will feel the same way as I do, along with Nick. If he loses this series, while I still have him 5th, Nick still has him 5th, it's arguable, and I think most people won't have him that high. So in terms of unofficial rankings, he's got a lot to lose as well. So those are all of the things that are on the line for Chris Paul tonight.
Well, before I jump into my take, you look phenomenal today, man. I love the blue. I love everything about your outfit today. I wanted to say it earlier
it's
in the block,
day, baby.
but you went to Nick, so I couldn't get. Yeah, you look phenomenal. I just wanted to highlight that. We all look good. We all got like this little this blue and gray going on. It looks good. Nice little set right there. But here's the deal. Everything you just said, Chris, just to put it simply, it's the story, right? You just gave us, what, 4 or 5 different scenarios, 4 or 5 different stories. That's all it is. It's the story. Which way does he want it to go? Which way will it go, right? At the end of the day, you know, as an athlete, you have this life that you live after your career's done of like regret almost. Now, some guys, it's damaging to them. They can't get over it. You see guys fall into depression. You see guys dealing with anxiety. You see guys start dealing with substance abuse. But then there's guys like Chris Paul, who he knows who he is. He knows who he is in his marriage. He knows who he is as a father. He knows who he is as a businessman. He has so many things set up for him when the game is done, when he walks away from the game. But there's those moments as athletes where you sit around, man, and you're sitting on the porch and you're looking at your little humble estate, and you see your kids running around, and you got maybe a couple of animals out there, and you're like, man, what if? That's what you're going to be thinking about when you're having your lemonade, when you're sitting there poolside, and you're like, man, I remember I used to do this, and you're reminiscing. And that's not what Chris Paul wants. Chris Paul doesn't want to be sitting poolside thinking about, man, Chris Bouchard said it. Man, look how many times my team's imploded in the postseason. So the only things on the line tonight, well, which is a big thing, Nick, it's the story. Which way does he want to go? And it's a big story for him because he's right, man. He is the point guard. He is the point guard. He controls the game, especially as a leader. It's like a quarterback, right? Especially him. It's if your team wins, you get all the glory, you get the big contracts, you get the endorsements. And if you lose, it's all on you. And that's what's at stake here tonight.
Well, and the big contract is actually, I think, an important factor of this. But before I get to that, just real quick, can we show that graphic again that we started the segment with? I don't know if we can or not. Because the other part of this graphic, the underrated part of this graphic is Doc Rivers wants this graphic fired into the sun. What do T-Mac, DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford, Blake Griffin, and Chris Paul all have in common for some of those blown series leads? Doc's like, oh boy, where it's the old Simpsons retreating into the hedges meme. Like, oh, don't look at me, fellas. But so here's the thing. Chris, you and I agree that the top 5 point guard list in our mind is cemented. Maybe what Chris is actually competing with is like guys he played against, like historically, Russ and Harden, who aren't point guards the way he is, but just talking about, like, you know, greatest players of the era. Russ and Harden both have a couple things Chris doesn't. Scoring titles, MVP. Like, but Chris Paul's, you know, he's a better team guy, but Harden could win a title before it's all said and done. I don't think Russ will, but maybe he will. So maybe that's where the ranking thing goes. But Brandon mentioned contracts. And Wilds, I'm going to throw something to you here. So,
here we go.
Robert Sarver is the owner of the Suns. I knew you did. You and I didn't talk about this, but I knew this would make up for me stealing your take yesterday. So, Robert Sarver is the owner of the Suns. And he is, what's the word? Notoriously cheap. They were competing for championships during the Nash era, and he's like, hey, you want my first-round pick? I'll sell it to you. Team's like, you don't want anything back? He's like, yeah, I do want something back. Bags of cash, no players, I got stuff to buy. If Chris Paul's bad tonight and they lose, and it looks like I broke down a bit at the end of the year that, you know, maybe he has surgery on those allegedly torn ligaments. I think the 3 years, $100 million that reportedly he's looking for if he opts out might not be there for him from Phoenix. I think Robert Sarver might say, you know what, guys? We're going to give Ayton the max. We already gave Booker the max. They'll pretend they're a small market, even though Phoenix is the 5th biggest city in America. And I do think it could end up with Chris Paul on the move. Now, I know where you want him to go and where you'll take this. But I do think what's on the line is, does he or does he not get the contract extension he wants from Phoenix? He'll get it from somewhere, but would he get it from Phoenix?
So I could actually see it going both ways, right? So if he loses and it looks like he broke down, like you say, or if they win and there's a little bit of like, okay, job is done. I brought a championship here. Maybe I go to another long-suffering, big market team that would make me a hero to a major metropolitan area. I'll just pick one out of the blue that my former agent now runs the team. Let's just say New York. Just for the sake of conversation, sorry. I could see him going to New York because here's the one sort of the underlying narrative of Chris Paul's legacy conversation. We've been having the Chris Paul might have better yesterdays than tomorrows for about a decade. I went back and tried to look up some stuff like 2011. Knee issues could potentially hinder future NBA All-Star Chris Paul. Remember that when he had his meniscus and then he had, it's not torn, we have to take it out. And there's bone on bone. Is he going to be able to play defense? Yeah, he's fine. He's been fine for 10 years. Then another Bleacher Report. This is Chris Paul's last chance to win on his own terms. That was with the Clippers. Then it was with the Rockets. This is his last chance. And then, all right, I guess he's just going to shuttle off to Oklahoma City and maybe he'll take a buyout. Like, nope, he had a chance to make a run in the playoffs there. He had a chance tonight. So I don't think that the Chris Paul story, win or lose tonight, is anywhere near over. I still think we see another chapter of his playing career. And as my bonus take, I think he has a magnificent Bill Bradley-esque post-playing career. But I don't think that this is the end-all, be-all for Chris Paul tonight, Broussard.
Well, look, you talked about him going to the Knicks. That would be such a Knicks move. Well, I mean, how many superstars have they brought in past their prime? And granted, Chris was great this year, no doubt about it. And again, obviously, I hope he closes it out with a championship. But how much longer is he going to play this way? I mean, he's 36. He's a small player already. This year, talk about an aberration. Him being healthy the entire year has kind of been an aberration. Not getting hurt to the point where he couldn't play in the playoffs. So the Knicks, whether it was Steve Francis, whether it was Penny Hardaway, we could go on and on. Larry Johnson. All the older players, Amari, that they brought in.
Penny.
Come on, man. Even if they win this, Nick brought up the 3 years, $100 million. I'm leery of giving him 3 years, $100 million, even if we win and I'm in Phoenix.
Give it to him.
I'd rather 2 years, but I give him the 3
He's been to the playoffs in 10 years. What are you talking about? Give him whatever.
Here's my question.
They're going to be a mainstay
listen,
now.
Hold on. Here's my question. There's 4 guys in NBA history that have made $300 million on the court. LeBron, KG, the late, great Kobe Bryant, and Chris Paul. He's made the 4th most money of anyone ever. Chris Paul has been rich and know what being rich feels like for a long time. Chris Paul just got his very first taste of the NBA Finals. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying if he got that taste and he's like, God, dog it, I want to go back. You know what? The money's the money. But I'm gonna die with $100 million left over no matter what. What I want is to get back to the finals and win. Where could I best do that if Phoenix isn't going to give me my $100 million? Well, is it New York?
Lord,
no, it's not New York. Is there a team that maybe needs a point guard?
No, we don't want him. We don't need him. We're
maybe
good.
My
he's the head of the Players Association.
He's
not doing that.
A little recruiting. I don't know. Listen, man, he could resign that position. I'm just saying that maybe, just maybe, if they're trying to, play AD at center and LeBron at power forward, and they don't want to give Schroeder $100 million, maybe a little sign and trade Schroeder. I don't know. I'm just saying, there's Chris Paul, Lakers, possibly, maybe. Think about it, talk about it, tweet about it. I don't know.
They need to do something. Lakers need to do something.
Happens
because it ain't looking pretty for them.
Either way, whatever happens, Chris Paul's going to be out there in Milwaukee where it will be rocking for Game 6. But let's stay in Wisconsin. Talk some Aaron Rodgers. Will he be in Green Bay next week when the Packers camp convenes? We discuss next. First things first, rolling on. Boom. The most anticipated reunion of the summer is here. John Cena returns home to SmackDown. It's the Summer of Cena. Friday Night SmackDown, 8 Eastern, only on Fox. Time now for the Weird and the Wonderful from our national pastime. Marlins, Nats, bottom 5, starting pitcher John Lester at the plate. 419-foot blast. 4th career home run. Guy also tossed 7 scoreless on 81 pitches. That is a night for him. Nationals win 18-1. That is a wonderful score right there if you're a Nationals fan. I think Dusty's a Nationals fan. Yeah. Wilds, what else you got for us?
Well, we'll start with the weird. White Sox Twins. Tim Anderson tries to put the tag on Celestino. Slides back to third alongside the umpire. Ump makes the call. Both safe. Himself and the runner. Celestino ends up scoring. Twins win, advance in the standings. Now only 17 back. Keep an eye on those Twins. Time for a wonderful play and story. Sacramento River Cats. Drew Robinson. Great catch in right field. Making this more special, this is Drew's second to last game as a player. Recently announced his retirement, but still going to the majors. Robinson is joining the Giants front office as a mental health advocate. So congrats to Drew. Great play to cap off a playing career, and best of luck in San Francisco. And finally, the weird. Mets-Reds, bottom of the second, ground ball to Guillorme, who misplays it and then tries to bat it over to third like he's playing that terrible game spike ball that people keep on giving my kids for their birthday presents. Guess what, everybody? We don't want it. They can't play it. Guillorme makes 3 errors in the game, 2 there, but hey, maybe they lighten the mood because the Mets still won 15-11. And that's your weird and wonderful from the national pastime, Jenna.
Kevin Wild. Spilling the truth this morning on Spike Ball. We got Chris Broussard back with us. We're talking some NBA Finals. Bucks are just 48 minutes away from throwing a party that's 50 years in the making. Chris Middleton deserves a ton of credit for bouncing back from a slow start to the series. He's proven he's a star. Some going so far as to say maybe he should get Finals MVP votes. Well, just the thought of this has Nick absolutely apoplectic. Said earlier in the show, Giannis is the most disrespected superstar in the league. Nick, why'd you say that?
Well, and I want to be clear here. I'm talking on the court. LeBron and KD obviously deal with a lot of criticism for off-the-court stuff. LeBron's shoes are made in China and his movies evidently stink, and KD on Twitter. I'm talking about on the court, the most disrespected superstar in the league. No question about it is Giannis. And it's not just by the media. It's by his colleagues, his peers. Someone pointed this out on Twitter during Giannis' second straight 40-point game of these finals. And they were like, where is the love that we see whenever there is a major offensive explosion for an NBA superstar in a standalone playoff game from other NBA stars? When when Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell were going off against each other a couple of years ago, all the other stars are tweeting about it. Dame, Steph, LeBron, Durant's game 5, it was like a national holiday of NBA stars giving him love. And with Giannis, it's crickets. And I think Broussard, there has been such a romanticization, of getting in your bag and shot making that people have forgotten it's about scoring, not shot making. The reason shot making matters is because it leads to scoring. And this idea that, Giannis, he's just bigger and stronger than anybody. No, he's not. There's 59 guys in the league, 6'11" or taller. There's 56 guys in the league, 244 or heavier. He's a big guy, but the league has been, the whole NBA history is super athletic guys kicking everybody's butt. Wilt and Russell dominated. Kareem was 7'2" with literally an unblockable shot. Like, why is Kareem so good? They're like, well, it is literally impossible to block his shot. Moses, nobody could handle him for a few years. Shaq, LeBron, Those six guys I just mentioned won 23 league MVPs. That's what the NBA is. You're big, strong, athletic. Guess what? You're going to crush people. I don't know why people act like, yeah, but with Giannis, I don't know. He can't break you down off the dribble and hit, what does Durant call it? The Hezzy Jimbo. Who gives a damn? Like, so what? He's about to win the title. And so I think it is rampant, and I think it's obvious.
Yeah, I disagree, Nick. Now, I don't disagree with everything you said, but first let's go here. Is Paul George a superstar? Because Paul George has an entire catalog of derogatory nicknames dedicated to him. I mean, if we put Paul George in this conversation, then there is no question he is the most disrespected superstar. Would you agree with that? Pandemic P, polyester P, way off P, all of that.
Yeah, but he's not. So, he's a very good player, but I'm talking about he's a different caliber of player. I'm talking about the best players in the league. The 10 best players in the league.
Okay.
Yeah.
But here's where I also disagree with you. Some of this comes with the territory of being in the finals. Heck, LeBron, and you're right, a lot of his hate comes from off the court stuff. But he also felt the need after last year's finals to say, give me my damn respect too. I mean, so he feels like he still doesn't get the respect. We've seen all-time greats leave him out of their top 5 or even their top 10 greatest players of all time. Kevin Durant, we got all-time greats like Walt Frazier saying, yeah, but there's an asterisk by his championships. Steph Curry,
right.
You know this, Nick. When Steph was getting to the finals consistently, a lot of players, he don't defend, he doesn't even guard the other best point guard. We know recently there was a survey that says he's the most trolled player on Twitter. So I agree that Giannis gets some hate, but I don't think he gets more hate than a lot of other superstars. I can't go with he's most hated. And here's the other thing. Giannis's criticisms or most disrespected. I don't think he's more disrespected than other superstars. Here's the thing. The criticism of Giannis is warranted. It really is. I mean, Giannis is not the closer. Okay? Giannis, we have become, you're right that we become used to seeing the other best players in the league. Kawhi, Harden, LeBron, Steph, KD, the guys on his level, they either are closers or the go-to guys at least. Giannis is not the go-to guy. So that's a warranted criticism. Heck, Giannis shoots air balls from the free throw line, and nobody's really making a big deal out of that. Do you see a lot of players pointing that out?
Trips.
No. He air balls free throws. And so I'm just saying, here's the final thing I want to say to you, Nick. Giannis also, until this series, has showcased his weaknesses. Okay? You talk about Steph wasn't a great defender. Well, Steph ain't out there guarding the greatest perimeter player on the other team.
But we're in this series.
Yeah, but my point,
and he's having
for most of his career as a superstar, he has showcased his weaknesses. He's out there shooting mid-range jumpers. He's out there shooting threes. He's on the perimeter. So, yeah, we're going to criticize your perimeter game. Shaq wasn't out on the perimeter trying to handle the ball and all that.
That's fine.
So we didn't criticize that aspect of his game.
That's fine, but by the way, Chris Middleton is the go-to jump shooter. Game 7 against the Nets, Giannis hit the shot to tie it over KD. Game 4 of the finals, you know what the critical moment was? Giannis on defense. Game 5 of the finals, you know what the critical moment was? The Giannis dunk. Those are closing, clutch plays. And I understand that previously this could be the case, but can we just show everyone Giannis's stat, the tweet from Justin Kubatko, I think it was, about what Giannis is doing in these finals and how it stacks up? It's like, 150 points, 50 rebounds, 25 assists. What do you take away from this? Well, LeBron's awesome. Did it 3 times. It's Giannis and Kareem. That's the list. Like, we're in the moment right now. And Brandon, I know everyone's got trolls and haters. This is how I would put a fine point on it. I think if you did an anonymous survey of NBA superstars about, like, respect level, I think there is more respect and admiration for Kyrie Irving's game than Giannis's game.
Right.
And I think that is insane. But I think it's because, one, it's like, wow, look at what he does, and he's little, and wow, it's fancy. And what Giannis does, he just dominates people.
Right. So, you look at the word disrespect and, hate, and I know we threw that around there, but it seems like most of your frustration, Nick, comes in because you don't think he's celebrated enough. That's what it comes down to. Why aren't we giving him more love? Why aren't we seeing, those conversations during the live broadcast where you see the guys, you got Russell Wilson, you got LeBron James, and you have, Kyrie Irving, Katie. Oh, look at this tweet from these guys, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal. You're not seeing that. And I truly believe it's because of the style of play. Like, we've seen this before. Now, he's in a moment. He's a monster. You don't get the nickname the Freak, just out of thin air. Like, the dude is getting it done. But at the end of the day, it comes down to style. Today's NBA is about dribbling the ball out the air out the ball. It's also about, let me see you shoot from the logo. When you go out to any park out there in America, hell, globally, what are the kids doing? The kids aren't mimicking Giannis. They're mimicking Dame. They're mimicking Steph. They're mimicking James Harden. So I think it comes down to that. That's what's wilding us. And you went back to the bubble when you talked about Donovan Spider Mitchell and you talked about Jamal Murray. Well, those boys was getting it done off the dribble, shooting it from the logo. They were shooting it. Like, that's what you were seeing. So I think it's a difference between, Giannis's game and everybody else that we're highlighting. I think people respect Giannis, but at the end of the day, they're like, man, we've seen this before. We've seen Shaquille O'Neal get it done in the paint. We saw this, year after year after year. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but I guess it's a matter of perspective, because the other thing I could argue that as great as Steph is, Dame exists, right? Like, as great as Kyrie is, this is the golden era of ball handlers. Like, there are a lot of guys now that can shoot from 35 feet. While Giannis is the only guy in the league doing this. He is the only guy in the league that is averaging 30 a game without shooting. He's the only guy in the league, by the way, in almost 30 years that has won a league MVP and a defensive player of the year in the same season. He's doing it on both ends. Folks are like, I don't know. He's not in his bag enough. To me, it's stupid. And it's frustrating. Okay. It's like, I don't care about his bag. His bag's about to have 2 MVPs, a finals MVP, and a championship ring all clanging around together in it. That's what's going to be in Giannis's bag, Wilds.
Yeah, there's plenty of room there because there's no crossover dribbles in the bag, just a bunch of trophies. Brandon, I want to throw it to you real quick because, and it speaks to Nick's point about that there hasn't been a parade of compliments from other players because maybe his game is built more on brute force rather than being in his bag. But I feel like when Brandon has specifically talked about. I'll give you a specific story. There was a wide receiver that we showed a clip from, and the guy jumped up, and you said this off air, so I'm trying to play it cool. He said, and he moved his tummy a little bit. His tummy just moved a little bit. And you're like, oh, he's got to work on that. I was like, work on what? He's like, you see how his tummy moved a little bit? That's got to be tight. That's part of the game. You got to be in shape. I was like, that guy's not in shape. He's like, that's not in shape. That's not in game shape. And what I learned from it, besides that you have an excellent sort of judge of tummies, was that professional athletes have a more holistic view of what it takes to be great. And Giannis came in the league, he was 6'9", 190, and now he's 6'11", 242. Right. And that's part of it. So when Nick talks about maybe he's being discounted because he's so athletically gifted, he's athletically gifted to a point, but he didn't roll out of bed and gain 52 pounds. He's been working. So that's the most surprising part to me. Is that surprising to you that other athletes are not viewing his physical dominance as a result of hard work?
No, I think if that was the conversation, people would put him up there with LeBron James, how he takes care of himself, how he bounces back from injury. Like, that's not even in a debate. But what Nick is talking about, and there is some argument there, there's some validity behind it, is when Giannis drops 40, where are the tweets? Where's the celebration? Why aren't we celebrating this guy more? That's what Nick's talking about. And to me, it goes back to the matter of, like, the style of play. You got James Harden, you got Dame Lillard, you got those guys. That's what these kids are mimicking. That's what these guys on the AAU circuit is growing up trying to be. They're not trying to be Giannis anymore. Hell, to be honest with you, that style of play is really dead. There's only a few guys that can get that done. You have him, you have Joel Embiid, who does it at times. He spends more time in the perimeter, but you got Joel Embiid, you got AD out there in LA that does it in spurts. But this is a dude that gets it done night after night in the paint. And I think that's the difference. Is like, people are like, man, if you want to be in the NBA today, you got to be able to shoot that rock. You got to be able to be, a guy that can play all 5 positions. So I think that's the biggest difference here.
Well, look, to your point, Brandon, a lot of the players do just respect skills. All right, that's why they love Kyrie, because his skills are ridiculous. All right, and the handle, the jump shot, they don't see those things in Giannis. So that's part. And I can't emphasize this enough. He's an MVP airball and free throws. Even Shaq would generally hit the rim. All right, that is a problem when you consistently airball free throws. But secondly, Nick, and I'm telling you, if over the next, it is a problem. If over the next few years,
here you go,
and really the next few years, Giannis plays the way he is in these finals, don't showcase your weaknesses. You score inside, you dominate the interior. Yeah, you have it on the perimeter at times, but you make the right decisions. I guarantee you the respect level will skyrocket because Giannis is out there embarrassing himself by shooting these three-pointers and shooting these jump shots when he can't do it yet.
All right, well then the argument there is, you know what, Steph and Kyrie, if someone's coming to dunk on them, shouldn't jump for the block because they're exhibiting what they can't do. Can't get above the rim. Oh, give me a break. This idea, and by the way, again, free throws, shmee throws, Shaq, Duncan, LeBron, Giannis. That's 14 titles in the last 22 years. Nary one of them are a great free throw shooter. A miss or an air ball counts for the same. I don't care about the air ball free throws.
Nick, Chris, I need you guys through Thursday because we have a lot of basketball left to play. So, Nick, this is going to make you happy. All you want is flowers, okay? I got a little flower for Giannis. Giannis, here you go. We want to give you your flowers so Nick can make it to Thursday. No, it's a flower. Put it right here. It's a little flower for Giannis.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Hey, tonight's Game 6 featured on the free-to-play Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan that QR code, download that app, and answer those 6 questions for your shot to win $1,000. All right, we're back setting the stage one more time for tonight's big game. Can Devin Booker, CP3, and the Suns force a Game 7? You know what Brandon thinks. We'll discuss that next. First things first. Thank you.
More important than who wins.
Time now for stories to start your morning, brought to you by Subway. Talking some Aaron Rodgers this morning. Packers are just a week away from welcoming the veterans to Green Bay for camp, but the status of that superstar quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, still unknown. Adam Schefter reporting this morning that Rodgers turned down a 2-year extension this offseason that would have made him the highest paid player in football and tied him to the team for 5 more seasons. So it might not be all about the money. Brandon, what do you make of the latest now on Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, well, we know that. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. This organization said they're willing to do whatever it takes to get him back there. There is no way they can let this guy go. Definitely after, an MVP year. Come on, you can't do it. So there comes a point in a player's life, whether it's, in the NBA, NFL, hell, tennis, doesn't matter, where you have enough money and you're looking at what's next for you. Guys start looking at quality of life. LeBron James did it. LeBron James wanted everything. LeBron James, I mean, he could have went to Philly and probably had a better chance of winning multiple titles. But he didn't do that. What did LeBron James do? He said, you know what, I'm going to go to L.A., I'm going to bring a guy with me, and then I'll be able to do my movies. peace. I have the warm weather that I want. My family will be comfortable when my son goes to the school. So that's what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is looking at this situation like, guys, I gave you guys 16 years, and there's an argument that we've underperformed. One Super Bowl out of Aaron Rodgers? Are you kidding me? Aaron Rodgers, just 5 years ago, before Patrick Mahomes went on this tear, we were talking about Aaron Rodgers being probably going down as the greatest quarterback ever. I mean, you name it. You know, Joe Montana, Tom Brady was in that discussion. We were talking about Aaron Rodgers, the way he was going about his business there. So Aaron Rodgers is ready to move on. We know that. But the situation is this. Unless he retires, there's nowhere to go. Like, we're talking about, we're a week away from camp. Veterans are reporting next week. Aaron Rodgers has nowhere to go. So, Nick, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to play this year, and then at the end of this year, he may be on the move. And hell, maybe we'll see some unprecedented where he may be traded midway through the year. I don't think we've ever seen that from a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you know, halfway through the year before the trade deadline. We're talking about October. Right, exactly. So, you know, maybe we'll see some unprecedented, but there's nothing happening unless he retires before the season.
Yeah, listen, I think Rodgers is going to start the year as a Packer. I think the window for him to force his way out has closed. Listen, Schefter is as good as anyone in the business at breaking news. But I also am, it's rude to speculate about other journalist sources. Luckily, I'm not a journalist, so I can speculate all I want about it. I mean, this came from the Packers, make Rodgers look bad. It's like, hey, Green Bay, we love him. We offered him buckets of money. Wanted him here for 5 more years. The devil, to use a cliche, is always in the details, right? Yeah, okay, you can offer a guy a 100-year contract. But when does the guaranteed money go away? When does your flexibility to move on from him start? And what are the real details of the deal? Those details are at least not in the Schefter tweet. So I don't doubt that at some point the Packers offered Aaron Rodgers a great salary, but would that actually have guaranteed that Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to end his career in Green Bay the way he has said he wanted to? I would doubt that. So I don't listen. Rodgers has handled this in a way that if I were the people running the Packers, I would be a little annoyed with, like, hey, man, you know, to quote the great Slim Charles, either do it or don't, or Marlo Stanfield, do it or don't, but I got places to be. Like, these half measures can't keep going. The cagey, I don't know if I'm going to be there. What's going on September 12th? Is that Boxing Day? Like, no, man, it's the first game of the season. I get why the Packers are annoyed with him, but I don't necessarily buy that the Packers all of a sudden decided, no, we want Aaron here for the next 5 years, because if they wanted that, then there would have been rumors they were considering trading Jordan Love, at least I would imagine, and those rumors never came to pass.
That's right. So to your point about the 100-year deal, I believe that's what Taysom Hill's deal is on right now too. He's in the first year of it as he sprinted out another 99 years ago. Brandon, but I want to have I think Nick had a very practical take on it. I want to just go to imagination world. If Aaron Rodgers, like you said, has nowhere to go, and he doesn't want to go back to the Packers, do you think that he could sit out and not get rusty necessarily, but get a year refreshed? He seemed to be having a great time in the waterfalls, that he could come back mentally and physically refreshed and be better than ever. I don't think that he has to, why are we saying that he has to go put his body through 17 games of some plus playoffs of where he doesn't want to be? Right. Why not just take the year off, come back to a brand new team, totally refreshed? Do you think that's a legit option for him?
Listen, I've said this for years. I'm a huge fan of players taking some time off. You know, a running back taking a year off and coming back refreshed. If they can find a way, find a routine where they stay in shape and they don't lose the quick twitch, if they don't lose that IQ. But at the end of the day, when you look at Aaron Rodgers' situation, Wilds, it's not a good move. I mean, this is year 16, I believe. Aaron Rodgers coming off an MVP year. He needs to go out there and compete with Green Bay and go through this year, and then after, go ahead and make your move, but lean into being uncomfortable. That's the thing. You could have already been out.
Brandon,
he won't do that.
He could have been out, but let me ask you a quick question, because I agree, and Jenna's right. He's shown that he's not going to do that. The year off thing, is it maybe a little different for quarterbacks compared to every other position? I understand why for almost anyone else in football, a year off could be good. For a quarterback, is it just a year where you get older? Like we're seeing Brady, like the age, once you've mastered the mental side of the game. Like, is it maybe a little different for quarterbacks than every other position?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Any position, if you have the right routine in place, you can do it and still come back and compete at a high level. Like, we're talking about a lot of mileage, a lot of wear and tear on these guys' bodies. But at the end of the day, Jenna, when you look at Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers are still contenders. So why would you sit out a year when you can still contend? So obviously you don't like Brian Gutekunst. But at the end of the day, you need to deal with that. And then at the end of the year, put yourself in position to move on.
Yep. All right, got to stop you there because I got to know what's happening tonight. Play a little take your pick. Game 6 in Milwaukee. Winner go home for the Suns. Brandon, I think I know your answer. Who wins the game tonight?
I pass it to Nick. You already know what's happening. I'll see y'all Thursday because it's Friday and then it's over. Go ahead, Nick. You go ahead and pick.
Stop.
Okay, go ahead.
First.
Go ahead, dog.
My goodness, once you start singing, though. Okay, I think Suns by 3 because they shoot a lot of threes. Suns, Nick, are 9-2 when they shoot over 33s. I think they go back beyond the arc, start raining some threes, and send it back to Phoenix.
Brandon will see us Thursday because he's going to call in sick tomorrow because he's going to be sick to his stomach. Bonus take, Giannis subbed out with about 2:10 left because it's a blowout and they give him a standing O.